You're a kid. I'm 73. Wait till you're my age, for God's sakes.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
I thought it was 6 p.m. tonight.
No, it was 6 p.m. It's 6 p.m. over here, but what is it, 10 a.m. with you? Are you in LA?
No, I'm in Chicago.
Oh, you're in Chicago, so it's like
noon. Yeah, it's noon here.
A bit more civilized than doing it at 10 a.m. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This is a podcast.
It's my pleasure, and like I said, when you're 73, I'm wandering around the house. I've been in this house now for what? Well, 6 months. What the hell is going on? I see there's an uptick in England right now, right? With the cootie.
Yeah, there is. There's going to be a press conference tomorrow with the Prime Minister, where I think he's probably going to announce maybe not another lockdown, but I think we're headed that way into another lockdown. Probably it will be that just the pubs close at 10 o'clock.
Here's my take. This is a memo to everyone. Don't elect a president or a prime minister who has funny hair. That's my take.
Well, it's a very
the funnier the hair, the more trouble you're in.
Yeah, I mean, it is weird how they both have such similar hair and, quite similar demeanors, Boris and Trump. Maybe that's
what's a mother to do? How the hell do I know? I don't know what the hell's going on. I've been around. How old are you? Like 30? What are you?
I've turned 30 on October the 1st, so that's a very good guess.
Yeah, I used to work in a carnival, guessing people's weight. Anyway, I'm ready. I'm ready to do it. Let's do it.
Awesome. Well, so this is a podcast called Greatest Music of All Time, and it's a great honor to have you on the show. And my first question is, what drew you into music? Because obviously, you've ended up having an amazing career, as the wall behind you will testify. But who were the first artists that drew you into music?
The first thing I would say is I don't have very much respect for you at all, since you've decided to include me in the greatest music of all time. That shows very poor judgment on your part, but nonetheless, I'll continue as if you know what you're talking about. Look, I was born in 1947, and that's before rock and roll. So around 1954, I asked my parents to give me accordion lessons because it was a popular instrument then. And remember, the actual electric guitar hadn't, Les Paul hadn't even really, 1954, most guitar players were still playing, boom chink chords. So my neighbor, who was 12 years old, I was 7. He played accordion, and he was older, of course. And I looked at it and I said, oh, wow, look at that. All that stuff's coming out of there and his fingers are flying. And accordions are very pretty instruments. They're shiny and they're sparkly. And I realized that my mother, who was Italian, I'm half Italian, unfortunately, it's my upper half. But so I saw how her eyes lit up when she watched my neighbor Georgie play. So, kids, what do you want to do? What do I want to do? They want to make their parents happy. They want them to love them more, right? So they'll do whatever they can to get their attention and get their approval. That's all we are. We're just a bunch of approval junkies around here. You too, my friend. You're going, Mommy, love me more. Daddy, please approve. We're pains in the asses. Anyway, taking recording lessons at 7 years old. And that's how I started. There was no, I listened to the Beatles. That wasn't until I was 17. Wow. And then I saw the Beatles. I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, which changed my life, like millions of others of my generation. But getting back to being 7, there was no rock and roll. I was just playing accordion. And around 1962, a couple of kids that lived across the street from me, the Panazzo brothers, John played drums, Chuck played electric guitar, kinda, boom chink. And we formed a band in my basement. And it was not a rock band. It was still really we're playing our parents' music because we just wanted to, maybe we'll play a wedding, maybe we'll play a party, because rock bands, if you think about it, the rock bands were invented as we know them today by the Beatles. They invented them. You play your own songs, you sing, you play, right?
Yeah.
Before, most rock people were solo artists. They just were. You know, there was a great singer, and when the Panalzer brothers and I saw the Beatles, we went, "That's a good job. Look at that. They're on TV. People are screaming." So we immediately started playing rock and roll. So I was about 17 when we really seriously started playing rock and roll music. That's my story. It's never going to change.
So what was your parents' music then? You know, what was the type of music that you were playing before, you know, seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan?
30s, the Great American Songbook, you know, the standards of the 30s, 40s, and 50s, because that's what, you know, the hit parade, that kind of stuff. You're too old, you're English and too young probably to know the hit parade, but it was something that came on TV. It was like the top 10. You know, you look back at the music of the 50s, 40s, 30s, we're playing standards. And we got gigs. We played weddings. You know, we were able to entertain people. We were we were good at what we did. If I go back and watch it now, I think, well, you suck. But then we thought we were okay. And that's all we were doing. And we were making little pocket change. But when the Beatles came on, you know, the whole world was a revolution in popular music. And so we started, you know, trying to play rock songs and primarily Beatles songs. The first song I think we ever played by the Beatles, because it was a nice 2-part harmony. John would sing and I would, he's the drummer, we would sing harmony. It was Mr. Moonlight, which wasn't even really a Beatles song, but we like to play it and sing it. And it was a nice cha-cha. Cha-cha. So that's how it started.
And before the Beatles, you weren't into rock and roll like Chuck Berry or Elvis or any of that stuff?
To listen to it.
Yeah.
I mean, who's going to sing Elvis? You know, and like I said, Chuck was the guitar player. He was a boom chink. You know what a boom chink is? Boom chink, boom, like a rhythm instrument. Before Les Paul got his hands in there, right? The electric guitar was it was a rhythm instrument. And then, you know, Chuck Berry and all these people come along gradually, but no, we didn't play any Chuck. We ended up playing a couple of Chuck Berry songs, Roll Over Beethoven, because the Beatles did it. But before that, didn't play. We, you know, the rock in this thing, we played, you know, the song Night Train? Yeah. It's an instrumental, look it up. We played stuff like that, but no, we didn't really play rock. I played accordion. You know, it's not, not very good for rock music. And that's when I switched and I went to electric organ.
So so you made that switch after seeing the Beatles as well?
Yes, after that. So,
were you completely did you become like a Beatles obsessive? Did you start buying their records and all that stuff? Or was it more just like, oh, this is kind of something a bit different? Like, how full on the Beatles scale were you? Because a lot of artists who've come on this series have pointed to the Ed Sullivan moment. It's like such a pivotal moment in music history for so many bands.
74 million people watched it, my friend. Yeah. 74 million people. It's unheard of. And close your eyes and I'll kiss you. They started, you know, here's a cute story. I didn't like them. My buddy bought Meet the Beatles, got his Beatle boots, and there was this big hype before they came here. The Beatles are coming. The Beatles are coming. And I went, I don't like Beatles. They're creepy. So, spray them with Raid. But anyway, I heard I Want to Hold Your Hand. It was on the radio. I didn't like it. It was okay. And I still feel that way about this song. If I'd heard She Loves You, or I saw Her Standing Here, or All My Lovin' First, I would have been more apt to be interested. So anyway, it was a Sunday night. On Sunday night was the big high school dance for the Catholic girls and guys to get together, high school. And it was started at 7:00. That was the time the Beatles were on at Sullivan. I didn't want to stay, but my buddy, he said, no, I want to watch it before. In my mother's house, we're all got our suits and ties on, getting ready to go to the dance, looking for chicks. So I'm like this before rap. And like I said, the first song was "All My Loving." That's the first song they played.
Yeah.
And I went, I was like, I was stunned. It was an epiphany. I sat down, and that was it. That was the end. That was the end, my son, and the beginning. Put away the American Songbook, try to learn Beatles songs, and I was hooked. And it's impossible for a 30-year-old like yourself, as talented and handsome as you are, you devil, you. It's impossible for you to understand what that world was like, because you've grown up in a world of connectedness.
Yeah, yeah.
And we grew up in a world primarily of isolation, and your own little group of friends, and your world was much smaller. And when that happened, it was like somebody opened the window, and the spring air blew into the room, and suddenly there were flowers everywhere. It was just that remarkable.
Yeah, well, I'm a big Beatles fan. I've seen their anthology documentary series and stuff, and it's just even watching that moment in hindsight, you can kind of get a sense of what it was like. But there's nothing like living through it, and times have changed in some ways for the good, some ways for bad, really.
I'm still looking for the good. Let me know when they show up. Advances in medicine. The rest of it's all horse shit. Can you say that on this podcast?
Of course you can say horse shit on this podcast. That's one of the good things. We've evolved so that we can use profanity in interviews without it being censored by the BBC or by PBS.
Great.
Yes, whatever.
Here's the thing. Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
He invented Facebook. Here's my take on all this stuff. I'm old. I'm an old fart. So all your viewers can say, this guy doesn't know. Get him out of here. We don't need him. His idea was he wanted to connect everyone. You know what I thought? Has he met everyone? Why would you want those people connected? Let's face it, human beings are complete jerks. We're proving it right now in real time. The pandemic shows up, and then you can politicize a possible life-saving device. Don't tell me people know anything. They're bracioles. You know what a braciole is, my friend?
No.
I'm going to tell you what a braciole is. It's an Italian dish. You take flank steak, cut it real thin, then you stuff it with generally with a little garlic or spinach, and you roll it up. You tie it together with a string, and you simmer it in tomato sauce. That's what we are. We're bracioles. We're just meat tied together with string, flying through the universe, tricking ourselves into believing that what we do is important, and we know something. We don't know shit. We know nothing. Human beings don't know anything. They know this much, and there's like that much to know. And so when you want to connect everyone, you might want to take a look at their backgrounds, because right now what the world is living through, what you're living through with this junk we're doing, like this matters, right? And the whole we'll pretend like it matters because we want to protect our phony baloney jobs. Nonetheless, when we pretend we know something, we don't know anything. That's when we get in trouble, which is nearly all the time. So I don't know what happened to humility, or what it's been replaced with hubris, which is it's so idiotic. But what the cootie is now teaching us is that we don't matter very much. And on my latest video, a song called "With All Due Respect," I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah, I have actually.
It's the news broadcast flashes on like breaking news and says, "This just in, nobody knows nothing." Can't we just say it? I know it scares us to say it, but it's true. And so all the interconnectedness we're now doing between human beings is pointing out one thing more than everything else. What a bunch of mooks and idiots this planet is inhabited by. Can we agree? I mean, because you see it, social media, it just should be called anti-social media, because it allows the worst tendencies in human beings to come forward. Because when you can shoot off your big blabbing mouth in anonymity, you're only looking for trouble, because you and I knew as boys growing up. This is what I called, all right, the boy syndrome. If somebody says something to you in the schoolyard or whatever, wherever, that you don't like, or you're going to say something to them, you have to consider the nose punch factor, the headbutt factor, where that guy who doesn't like what you're saying, because you know who they are, might punch you in the nose. But if you can get away with saying the stupidest things ever invented to people in anonymity, people will do this. And this is what, this is not good. It's not good for mankind for there to be no consequences to things said.
Yeah, people,
now I'm going to get off my soapbox because I'm starting to feel dizzy. I'm on the soapbox. Okay.
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of sense in what you said, and there's a lot of people hiding behind keyboards in today's era. But at the same time, you know, with the pandemic and social media, therefore becomes this, you know, the kind of only option that many people have left to communicate. So I guess that makes it even more of a situation where you get humanity showing their worst sides. Have you seen the documentary, The Social Dilemma, Dennis?
I watched the first episode and I couldn't sleep for 6 years. Listen, I looked, that didn't tell me anything I didn't know. Let me just, all you young people out there, once again, file this under old fart knows nothing, screw him. But I'm telling you, an old fart does know. He knows human nature. I've made it my life to write about human nature in my songs. What I see in that program is this. Marky Mark, I hate to pick on Marky Mark Zuckerberg. He started the whole damn thing trying to get better looking girls. This is all men want. Girls, wake up. Men only want one thing, better looking chicks. They'll do anything. Well, and if you're, I should say this. If you're a guy and you're gay or trans or whatever you are, you want better looking partners, whatever it boils down to. But for the heterosexual community, they want better looking chicks. That's what they want. So they'll do anything, become rock stars, become podcast guys with shows, become athletes, try to figure out the most difficult. Einstein, he wanted better looking chicks. Well, who was he going to get with that hair? So this is what I'm saying. This is number one. It drives everything. It's in our DNA. They want, all right, they're still looking, better looking mates so they can prove, who cares? This is what drives us. So Marky Mark starts off, and now it's Facebook. And now he's determining if the Russians can tell all the morons in the United States how they should vote under the guise of something that's not even real. Yeah, okay. Let me once again, the only good thing about the interconnectedness of us all is perhaps in scientific and medical communities. This is the advantage of the whole thing. Everything else, you and me, what we're doing right here, this is just distraction. We're trying to forget the fact that we're the only species on the planet that knows it's finite. It's going to die. So I try to give human beings a break once in a while, knowing full well we're all walking around going like this. Well, I'm going to die. I wonder when that'll be. This is a pressure. So what do? We distract ourselves, like watching this podcast. Like you listening to the great music and the Beatles. They're distractions to keep us happy, to avoid confronting the inevitable. Am I wrong? I'm not wrong. I don't care how smart you are. Did you go to Oxford? Who cares?
I didn't go to Oxford, sadly. You know, I'm sure I would have fit in very well there. But do you think that if social media had existed during, you know, let's say it just got suddenly invented out of nowhere, everything got invented in like a few months, let's say in the 60s or perhaps in the 70s when you started having like major success, do you think people would have behaved the same? Do you think the people back then would have behaved the same if they suddenly got given like Facebook and Instagram and all the rest of it?
People always act the same. You give them the same choices, all over the world. Give them the same choices, they'll do the same stupid things.
So therefore, you think the platform, though.
We wouldn't even listen. All the guys out there, maybe the girls too, guys. I'm going to tell you something. Would rock and roll have been as big in 1965 when the Beatles were rolling to everything if there were porn on the internet for us guys? I don't think so. I think rock and roll wouldn't have been as important because people have been looking at porn instead of listening to rock music. When I was being popular, millions of people were loving us because there was no distractions. Music was everything to young people. It's like everything. They looked at us, guys who didn't know shit, and thought we knew something. And so consequently, I became very successful. You know, a little talent, little luck. This is how the world spins. And so my thought is, with all the distractions back in, say, 73, when we got started in 72, if there was porn on the internet, you know, guys are going to be doing, I know what they're doing. They're looking at it. Then I just go, oh, let's go to a record store and get the new album by Styx. Oh, I love it. Nah, I'm over here on you, whatever it is, Pornski. It's the Polish for. I don't know. This is my belief. But we existed at a time where there were no distractions for young people. They focused on music and musicians. I was lucky by birth. I really was, you know? And I know it's true. You go. All you guys are thinking, yeah, this guy's an idiot. No. I was very successful and all this in what they would call the golden age of rock music. Because it was us, baby. It was us.
Yeah, I think it's an important factor. The fact that during that time, things were very different. Music was consumed in a different way. It's a very good point that you're making. Would you go as far as to say that rock and roll is dead?
Oh, I said it like 10, 15 years ago, easily. Oh, of course it is.
When did it die?
It doesn't mean. Wait a minute. Let me quantify that. Rock exists. Let's get down to the brass tacks of this, because, you know, people are going to come on here and lie to you because they're trying to propagate the Grand Illusion, an album I talked about in 77, where in the song, The Grand Illusion, I wrote, don't believe in us. We're just an illusion that we create for your entertainment. I told them, welcome to the Grand Illusion. Come on in and see what's happening. Pay the price, get your tickets for the show. The stage is set, the band starts playing. Suddenly your heart is pounding, wishing secretly you were a star. But don't be fooled by the radio, the TV, or the magazines. They'll show you photographs of how your life should be. They're just someone else's fantasies. So if you think your life is complete confusion because you never win the game, just remember, it's a grand illusion, and deep inside, we're all the same. I said that in 1977. And that's my belief. We were an illusion. We created, you know, kids who spent a lot of time in their bedrooms, their basements, practicing their instruments. Suddenly, young people think they know something. And I benefited from that. So I really believe, and the second factor is this, all these baby boomers, GIs, the people from the Great Britain, all the people that came home from the war, having lived through the war and the Depression, convinced that their kids were going to have it better than them. They came back and they worked hard, and they produced the baby boom generation. A more narcissistic bunch never existed, but it was helped economically by this. After the war, everything was being rebuilt. And there was more spendable income from teenagers. I don't think before the baby boom did teenagers even exist as a term. I don't know, because teenagers didn't matter before the baby boomers. But the baby boomers, there was too many of them. I know, I'm one of them, with money, with cash in their hands, with prosperity. And whether they didn't want to buy records. And you know, I always said rock and roll is just as much an economic phenomenon as it is anything, because the old farts who owned the record companies at the time, who were still happy to have Perry Como, right? Yeah. Or Frank Sinatra, because that's the music they loved. they suddenly realized they could sell boatloads of this new music to teenagers. They were an economic force. Baby boom teenagers were an economic force, which is what drove rock and roll to the pinnacle of its successes. So there you are. Once again, I was there. I benefit from all that. Didn't know it at the time. These are things I've thought about over the years and worked out in my mind. And so rock and roll is dead now because the business model, the business structure of it, the thing that drove music was radio. Where are the new rock stations in America? I don't know. Are they in England? It's like nothing. It used to be everywhere. So if you don't have a way to allow the listener, the possible customer, to hear the music without searching and, oh, listen, I have no life. I'm going to look at everything on the internet because I'm a losing, stupid idiot because I have nothing else to do with my life. No, you need editors, you need arbitrators, you need people. I get the record companies used to go, 10,000 people will pick these 200. And then it's not fair, it's not right, but at least then you could winnow it down. And then the radio would winnow it down more and say, here's some of your choices. Now you have unlimited choices, which means you have no choice. You can't give human beings unlimited choices. They haven't got the time for it. And they don't have the inclination. So rock music is dead is because there's no business model for it. And was always an economic force, my son. Always.
So
can't make money off. Can't make money off. Boom. Let's have the next pop star. Poof. There they are. Let's have the next rap star. Something else will replace it. You know, the universe hates pours a vacuum, although it is one. I never understood that. So there you go. Now, who gives a shit about rock bands? Everyone's like, let's rock. I'm yawning because who's rocking? You watch all the awards show, the things that sell. People made a choice. We want pop stars, disposable. We want rap because I realized, when was it? In the 90s, I pull up to a stop sign, there's a white kid in his car. And the music is blasting, like always. But it wasn't, and traditionally that would be a kid playing some rock band. It was rap music. It was at that moment I knew that kids were deciding that they wanted to rebel or whatever phony baloney job they think they're pulling off here. They're going to rebel with rap music and not with rock music. Rock was always the one. This was the rebellious music, which is really another grand illusion. Room full of horse shit. We weren't, how could we rebel? First thing a musician does is sign a contract with a multinational corporation to figure out how much money he makes per record sold. If you're rebelling against the man, I've got news for you, son. You are the man. Stop bullshitting us. But you know who propagates this nonsense? The rock press. There's never been a more useless conglomeration of imbeciles than the rock press. They've been feeding us this lie that it's about rebellion. Chuck Berry, Elvis Presley, go right down the list, Little Richard, all the people who invented this music, you know what they wanted? They wanted to buy a Cadillac, take care of their mamas. They want to make some money. And this was the music that they were making, okay? They weren't trying to overthrow the man. They wanted to be the man. All you kids out there, don't overthrow the man. Be the man, you stupids. This is what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with that. This is how our evolutionary process goes. We don't want to overthrow the man. We want to be the man. Everybody really wants that. And Marxists, socialists, I don't care who you are. Eventually, somebody runs the show. Look at the Soviet Union. Look at China. Eventually, Brezhnev's there. You got it? Yeah. Eventually, Putin's in charge. Doesn't matter what the form of government is because somebody's got to run it, don't they?
Yeah, for sure.
Too much to digest. And you thought we were going to talk about C flat major.
No, I didn't. All of the conversations can be wide ranging, but I'm glad that you've taken it wide ranging because, you know, sometimes it's a bit of an effort to do so. Do you listen to rap music? Do you like rap music? Or do you still listen to rock music?
I've tried to like it, but here's what I found out about music. All forms. Very little of it's great. A lot of people making it, not that much great. An awful lot of crap. Okay. From my point of view, what's crap to me? And I'm not defining rap as crap. I mean, I hear it, you know. I've listened. It's not, listen, I always say this. I listen to Jay-Z and, you know, I think, well, I don't exactly get it, but guess what? It wasn't aimed at me. It's not for me. Jay-Z's not, he's not aiming that at me. It's for somebody else. It's understandable to me. But I've listened to, there's some rap stuff that's very clever, but here's what I think rap music is essentially. It's gimmick music gone wild. It's gimmick music, but people like gimmicks, okay? And its success is based on, look, here's what I think. As a singer, that's the shittiest job in the world. It's so hard to be a singer. I'm not kidding you. Your life is a misery. You're always worried about these two little pieces of meat banging together in your throat to make people happy. It's fraught with anxiety being a singer. A musician, not so much. But the rap artists are genius. They figured out all they had was talk.
Yeah, it's true. There's a lot less.
Hey, that's compared to singing. As you can see, I could talk to you all day and not care. Now, if I had to sing tonight, this interview would already be over.
Yeah.
Because I can sit here and talk all day and then sing for 2 hours tonight because vocal cord can't take that punishment. So I'm running around in a circle here on you, but what do I like rap music? There's some of it I get. I have, you know what I mean? Insane in the brain, whatever. You know, other stuff that's it's catchy. You know, it's fun. I get the anger, you know, but it wears you out. And when you listen to rap music, it is even more incredibly repetitive than regular music because you're not bound to come up with a melody, although you're always looking for the hooky little this, that, and the other thing to throw in there musically so people pay attention. But, you know, like I said, or maybe I haven't said this, it's like people made a choice. They make their choices. Who am I to tell them what to like? I can't tell you what you like. You like what you like for any number of reasons. But for me, people made a choice long ago that said, number one, when it comes to quality of sound, we'll take facility over quality. Can I be in the John sitting or the Lou, sitting on the pot, listening, being entertained? People said, yeah, I don't care if it doesn't sound as good as a big stereo system. I want it in my hand when I'm going potty. They made that decision. I can't help them. Me, when I listen to music, you know, a big part of it is the sound of it. Okay. People said, not that important. And I get it because when I started listening, I had monaural with a little earplug on a transistor radio, and I was quite happy. So I understand it. And the other thing they decided was, if it makes them happy, if it distracts them, that's plenty. Can I tell them? Oh, don't you know there's so much more to music if you just listen to my music? How elitist is that? It's not true. If you're happy with what you're listening to, the mission is accomplished.
Yeah, it does seem like you have a preference for the way that things used to be, or in some ways, or at least, you know, even there's a song on your most recent record that's called "To the Good Old Days," right? So are you nostalgic, or are you just more kind of like not into the current era, just with the advent of all this tech and this disposability of the culture now?
Kids, pay attention to me here. You're listening to an old man speak. I don't know. Do you ever meet old people who think that it's better now? I don't. Historically speaking, I don't think Plato thought it. These goddamn teenagers, they're ruining all the Olive Gardens. This is it. Old people always think things are not as bad, as good as they were when they were younger. So the good old days is a song about forgiveness. It's not about it's not about the old days. If you really look at the lyrics, it's about we got this far, we got through this. Life is challenging, even before the COVID. And all you kids that are born, you know, in the last 20 years ago, listen, has anybody noticed that the millennia, this sucks? Nothing that's happened from 2000 forward, we could do it all. I don't need none of it, right? It starts off with 9/11. It's not getting better. So it was my way of saying, when I look back upon my life, mistakes were made. I'm here, I made it. And the important thing is to forgive. Hardest thing in the world to do. Hardest thing. But it wasn't pure nostalgia. I wrote the song specifically for Julian and Len and I to sing with no other purpose, intent. I just said at the piano, I said, if Jules and I sang a song together, what kind of song would I write? And I focused on the sound of his voice and mine together in a harmonic structure, because as you notice, the whole song is two-part harmony, like a lot of early Beatles songs where John and Paul were singing the melody. And I wrote it, and I didn't know him. And I just made a demo, this piano and vocal, and sent it to him. He wrote back, he said he'd be honored to do it. That's just how it happened. I didn't think he would say yes. I frankly didn't think I'd get a response. So To the Good Old Days is not really nostalgia to me. It's just a look back at a life, and you know, and like in the Best of Times song, some good, some bad. Got to survive it. Got to figure out a way to keep your head through the chaos. Bad things are coming, kids. You know it now. And how do we react? How do we manage to get through? Were we decent and kind? Did we try to do the best we could? Or were we jerk-offs on the internet saying, oh, look, she's fat? I don't know. I got no time for that. And people who feel that way, I don't get it.
Yeah.
This has gone philosophical, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, those are the best podcasts, really. That's why long form media is more enjoyable to many people, because they're fed up of just kind of people making all these throwaway comments. That's why you see there might be a reaction to this type of thing that you're criticizing. I think there already is. I think there's a growing number of people who want to listen to full albums and want to listen to longer, more interesting and complex conversations, and, you know, start reading books again. And I think there will be a reaction to the whole social media thing. How come you decided to write a song with Julian Lennon in mind then?
I wrote, the album's called 26 East, which was the address of my house where I grew up, where we formed the band in 1962. This is my last album. Where it began, so shall it end. I was tying all the loose ends up because I was talked into making a record against my better judgment. I had a record deal offered to me. It took 5 years for me to say yes. Because I don't want to, listen, first of all, why should anybody listen to a 73-year-old man? I don't know. This was initially music for young people, and then I got old. That was not my idea. I was thinking about, you know, staying young forever. Didn't work out. So I thought, there is no structure for new music. There's no reason for me to make music. After all I've done in my life, I don't have to prove to myself, which I did when I was young, that I'm just not another asshole from the neighborhood. I'm this asshole from the neighborhood. I proved that to myself, okay? That fiery single-mindedness, ambition, gone. I still want to do the best I can at all times. But do I need to prove myself to strangers? I got over it. And the idea of trying to convince people, my audience, older people, who fundamentally are not interested in new music, no matter what they say. They want, people are simple. The music they heard between 10 and 20 is the music they're most interested in forever.
Yeah, that probably is true.
Don't give me new choices. They confuse me. Because they hear me sing, they hear my songs, and immediately they're transported to being 15, 16. And a time when innocence, a time when responsibility was not in their vocabulary in the same way as it becomes as they get older. So for my audience, I'm trying to convince them to listen to new music from me when they really want to come sail away. They want to hear Babe, they want to hear Lady, Mr. Roboto. That's what they want. So I'm not in, I didn't feel comfortable saying, oh, well, you should listen to me now. Because there's no radio, there's no way to communicate it. I don't need money. This is not a money deal for me. But if I can't have a chance to communicate what I think is important to me, to you, I don't want to do it. I don't care. And I made it clear to the record company and the president, who said, oh, you have to make, and my buddy Jim Peterick, who was in Survivor in the Ides of March, he wrote Eye of the Tiger. He lives 3 blocks from me. Literally, I live in a gated community, and that's why. He lives 3 blocks from me. Keep him out. I don't need him in here. So anyway, he convinced me to do this. He kept saying, Den, the world needs your music. I said, have the world text me, because I can't see why they would want my music. But I'm glad he did. I got to say goodbye to the fans, and this is my volume 2. I'm almost finishing up here. I have a couple songs to do. I'm glad I did. I got to go wave and really to say to the fans, hey, kids, thanks. Look what you've given me in my life. You have given me an awful lot. And so it allowed me to do that. But, and really the record got so much more attention than I ever thought it would. I mean, this is not false humility. I thought, set your watches, it's released. Time's up. 48 hours after it comes out, nobody remembers it. Oh, that shit, that was years ago. So anyway, I think it's probably because of the pandemic. Everyone had to shut down. It was released. Here, so you love this. The good old days is released 2 days later. The WHO, and I don't mean Daltrey and Townsend, the WHO announces a worldwide pandemic. I went, there's good timing for you. But what happened was, because of that, I had to cancel my tour. I stayed in the house. Suddenly, guys like you, people everywhere wanted to talk to me, right? So the album it just calmed down like 3 or 4 weeks ago. It did really good, got lots of more attention than I ever thought it would. So I'm glad I do it. I owe it thanks to Jim Peterick for convincing me. But I don't need to sit in an empty auditorium and prove I know how to write music and sing songs. I know how. Without an audience, there is no me. And that's what people forget, musicians. It's not about you. Ultimately, it's about them. Because I've written the song now. It's out there, right? It doesn't belong to me anymore. It belongs to the people who get something from it. And I've had so many people, I didn't know any of this when I was doing it. When I was doing it, did I think I'd be 73 talking to you? No, because there were no rock stars who were even in their middle 40s. Elvis and Chuck Berry in their 40s. So I didn't think there was I thought there was a sell-by date on all this music, but apparently it turned out there wasn't. And nothing is more shocking or fun than having people in their 50s and 60s and even older come up to me and thank me for making this music. that changed their lives. And I think, how did that happen? Because when I was doing it, you know what I was trying to do? I was trying to kick Queen's ass, beat Aerosmith. I was in the ring. I wanted to outdo the competition. I wasn't thinking a 60-year-old 30 years down the line would come and tell me the profound positive effect it had on their lives. That's what I would call the greatest unexpected fringe benefit. To know that what I was doing to try to make myself whole as a human being helped others. Now, how lucky can you get? I don't even, listen, I did a best of times thing on YouTube because some fans wrote into my Facebook and said, why don't you join all these other needy celebrities who have to do a video from their house because they can't stand not to be noticed? I thought, yeah. And so they said, did you notice that best of times there's a lyric that goes, when people lock their doors and hide inside, and rumor has it it's the end of paradise. I thought, oh, how about that? So I put the iPad, I'm talking to my iPad. This is the best, this thing here has been the best investment in my musical career. I don't even know how it happened. So I went to the piano. My piano's out of tune. I set the thing up there on a UPS box to get it at the right height. And I sang best of time, just a little thing. I'm thinking, okay. I put it on my Facebook. I got over 1,150,000 views in like a month.
Wow.
And that doesn't happen to me because I'm not lady. I'm not Lady Gaga. Okay. That doesn't happen to me. So the pandemic was a boost to my career. I don't know how that's possible. But something about the song and the way I sang it, I don't know if you've seen it or not. I look at it and I think, you know, I look at it and I go, it's not that good. You know, I go, piano's out of tune. Why did you wear that outfit? You know, that kind of stuff. But people responded and they write on comments, 9,000 comments, 9,000.
Wow.
Dennis, you're that. I'm thinking, so why is my name in that sentence? You know, because Dennis, you are a gift from God. I said, well, I need to have a conversation with God because I don't feel that way. So people got something from it. And I'm humbled by the thought that can happen. But this is the magic, the mystery, and the grandeur of what I do for a living, which is make music. There is no other art that compares to it. All the other arts are shite by comparison because music is magic.
And I really appreciate you taking the time to do this podcast. I've got one final question for you, which is, if you were to choose a song that you've written throughout your entire career that means the most to you, would you be able to do so? And if so, what song would it be?
I've been asked that similarly many times. And, you know, I can't answer it because I think, as I've already said, it's not my song anymore.
That's a good point.
It's yours. And I'm happy when people validate me about anything I've written. And I guess come sail away if I was pressured, only because it embodies all the things that Styx were. And it's a song that it's about yearning to be in a better place. And who doesn't want that?
Yeah, for sure. Who doesn't want that, especially these days? Well, Dennis, thank you so much for taking the time. This has honestly been one of my favorite podcast episodes. I've really enjoyed it, and you've got a way with words. That's for sure.
Tell all your fans to tune in and watch an old man shoot his mouth off.